Hello, everyone. Um, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. Uh, there's Rudy. He's doing well. Nice to see all of you here. Maybe this live stream might be a little shorter than usual, but yeah, it's nice to see all of you here. We're going to talk not just about Milei in Argentina, but about things in general, and I'll try to answer also your questions. So the title of the live stream is Milei promises to end a century of inflation. And having listened to Milei for the last 9 months or so, since he's come into the fore, so to speak, um, I can tell you that he knows what inflation is. And unfortunately, 99.9% of the people, and that includes politicians, economists, they don't know what inflation is. So a lot of people might think, well, how is he so arrogant that he can think he can stop inflation? Well, we'll look into that today. And if you're listening to this recorded, you might want to wait for another 10 minutes because right now I'm going to say hello to all the viewers. I've started a little earlier than usual as I usually do. So let's see who's here. We've got Jake's Custom Parts. He says everything's great. 5x5 Ebola sunglasses. Says pictures good. Great. Joshua Porter. Norbert Way Deep Inside says hello or good evening. William P. MCD, liberty requires personal responsibility of individuals. I agree 100%. It's not Milei that's going to solve all the problems, but I think his mentality helps, even if well, many people don't believe what they're seeing. And we're going to talk about that in a minute when we start. Urban Sombrero says, hi, Mario. Hi, Rudy. Mark C says, hi from Billericay. Yeah, I know Billericay in Essex. Hannah says, hi to Dutch Libertarian. I say hi to Dutch Libertarian. Scoobyism 3. Nasty day in New York today. Okay. Haven't heard the news about New York. Um, NB says hello from Communist Canada. Gordon D, good evening, Mario and Rudy. Hello to all from Oregon. Billy Barnes. 903 Bodum. Hi, Mario and Rudy from Michigan. Great. Um, Brady Girding is here as usual. Dilwyn Roberts from Wales. Mark BKLYN says Millet clown. Not sure why. Maybe he could explain to us why he thinks he's a clown. Okay. Um, Maybe he hasn't listened to what he said. Maybe he just reads. Maybe Mark only reads the mainstream press and what other people say about him and doesn't listen to the man himself. But there's an old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. But anyway, let's keep going. Jeff Rummel made it. How do you think the metal market will open? I don't really, it's not my concern how the metal market will open, really, Jeff Rummel, because I know that metals are going to maintain their purchasing power no matter what. They might open up or down or unchanged. That's the only three things it might do. So, I don't have a crystal ball, but I guess if I had to bet, they might get hit because it's been a bad week for gold and silver. But then again, the previous week had been really good, and the metals opened really well. So you never know. Difficult to say. Andrew Brown, good evening, Mario and Rudy. Wayne Shinton says, hi, Mario. Tyler Pelletier. Who else is here? Quite a lot of you. IJGDR. Hello. Linda Compton. Nice to see Linda. Tyler says, love your stuff. Thank you, Tyler. Alexandros Sirambides, Drosato, Central Macedonia. All right, Central Macedonia. Tyler from Ontario. Yeah, loads of you. Long Live Coins. Rick says, yeah, Rick, Long Live Coins says, Belly Dance Rabbit are at Jake's Customs. Cosmos says, he says lots of right things, but I still have controlled opposition vibes. Well, that's understandable because for the last 56 years, people have been disappointed by, politicians. I can understand that. I guess only time will tell, and we'll look further into that. We got another 5 minutes since I'll dig deeper into things. Right now, I'm just saying hello to everyone. Steve Dent says, just finished 18 holes here in New Zealand. Great video yesterday with David and John. Thank you. I played 18 holes today, Steve, Sunday, this morning. Yeah, the weather wasn't great. I mean, but it didn't rain. We started just after 8 a.m. I played fairly well today, so I'm happy with my golf game. Uh, let's see. Jeannot Morin says, hi, Mario from North Carolina. Music lover forever. L. Wiener says, lol, no way. Not sure what he's talking about. Peter Howard from Sheffield. Nigel Woy from Aylesbury. Been following your channel for a few months now and find it insightful. Thank you. William PMCD. Any recent nuclear type news in the UK? Not really, not much really in the UK in terms of nuclear news or important news. I think they're trying to spin this COVID inquiry, trying to make it look like they didn't do enough. But apart from that, nothing really too important. Hi, Manic Miner. Yeah, my eye is doing quite well. I think it's pretty much healed. Belly Dance Radio says, thank you for having John Perez this week. Yeah, no, he's a good guy. I enjoyed speaking with him. He was once with Mike and I once on the Mike and Mario show. So it's like the second time really technically that we've had him on the show. Josh reported, do you ever check out your viewers' channels? To be honest, not really. Um, I mean, in the YouTube studio, it shows like my followers, like the biggest. It gives like the top three in terms of how many followers they have. But I probably have in the past, but I mean, I'll try to check them a bit more. Also, Adam, they sold out of Dirty Men safes, so I had to buy a filthy woman safe. All right, that's a good one. Fox Moongaze from Hampshire. Steve Goodwin, how will the USA manage to refinance all those trillions in the bond market? I think they will do it by paying a higher rate. which means lower price for bonds. That's how they'll do it. Neil D from Enfield, Andrew Arama, Anton Spoe from Bratislava, Slovakia. So we're almost there. Moonraker from rainy North Carolina. Yeah, I mean, England, London has been quite rainy. Um, uh, Joey Lahote, what's your take on John where I'm going to live? I think it's yeah, it's kind of like the floodgates in terms of the for the people going to the PGA Tour. I think it's bad for the PGA Tour, and I think it's good for live golf. Whatever you might think of the live golf tour. I saw that there are rumors that Tony Finau might be going to the to live golf. So I think there will be a huge, yeah, I think the PGA Tour is in trouble. So I think it's quite a big move. I mean, yeah, golf is and Joe Roman says free market pro golf. Yeah, I mean, professional golfers are free agents. They should be able to play wherever they want. And maybe the PGA Tour had become too corporate. That could be, and live golf is actually giving the players more power. They're, the players, they make the difference. So let's start now with talking about Milei. Uh, so the title of the live stream is Milei promises to end a century of inflation. And for those of you who have followed me for a while, you know that inflation is not like a natural phenomenon, even though we're many times we are like led to believe by the powers that be, by the central bankers, by Keynesian economists that it is, oh, inflation came out of the blue. But as I said, if you've been following me, you know that inflation can only be created by government and the central bank. And why is that? Well, because inflation is happens when you control the currency, when you have a monopoly over the currency, when you have legal tender laws, and you create currency. Only a few people can create the currency, and they abuse that privilege. Just like the US has abused the exorbitant privilege to create currency for the world. That's all it is. And I think, well, I don't think, I mean, from what I've heard Millet speak about in the last year or so, and prior to a year ago, I'd never heard of the guy, but he came to the fore, I think, in 2021 when he was first elected to the Argentine Congress. Prior to that, he was not very well known, and he knows what inflation is. And why is that? Well, because he's looked into the Austrian School of Economics. He's read Rothbard, and I'm sure he's read What Has Government Done to Our Money by Rothbard, which is a book I've recommended to you guys many times. So Rothbard, of course, he does the regression theorem analysis of money, and that's a really good way of understanding inflation. So what is that? Well, you go back to, um, let's say, many thousands of years ago, you know, society wasn't really something that existed. Uh, people were hunter-gatherers, or, they hunted for what they needed. They bartered with each other, and then, they lived in small groups, and then they joined together, lived in small tribes, and then villages, and then people started realizing that barter was not a great system. That a lot of times, if I wanted something from John and John had it, that was good for me. But if I didn't have what John needed, it was very difficult to exchange things. And eventually, people found out that there are some things that almost everyone wanted, and that's what became money. And gold and silver and many other things actually have been money, the most marketable commodity. But as Rothbard says, government hijacked that most marketable commodity through legal tender laws, through with the bankers as well, because the bankers used to issue promissory notes for those most marketable commodities. So what would happen is they monopolized that. They put laws saying that you had to accept these promissory notes, and then they abused it, of course. They printed these promissory notes, and that's inflation, because you print more notes than you have, than the commodities available. So inflation can only be created really by government and the central bank, and Milei knows that, and that's why in his inaugural speech, which I listened to, my Spanish isn't great, but it's similar to my mother tongue, which is Portuguese. But he focused a lot on inflation, and he said, inflation is that. We've had 100 years of inflation, and he knows how to stop inflation. Whether he'll be successful is another story. So how do you stop inflation? Well, you stop the government from spending more than it takes in taxes. So you stop deficit spending. You stop the central bank from printing money that is not backed by real savings. And that's how we do it. It seems really easy. Why don't other countries do it? Well, because the other side of it is all the welfare state, all the government spending, all the corporate largesse. And why do I think Milei in Argentina might be able to do this? Well, because Argentina has gone so far downhill. It's so much in the dumps. They've had really bad inflation for eons, that people are ready to try anything, and I think Milei is that. So that's how I see it. The fact that he spoke so much about inflation in his inaugural speech is in itself a good thing, even if he doesn't succeed. And I think Argentinian presidents get 4 years in office. At least people in Argentina are going to start looking into the topic. And yeah, that's how I see it. So I'm going to stop right now and allow you to ask any questions you have. So Circle the Wagons says, no, you abolish the central banking system. Yeah, Millet is aware of that. The problem is you can't do it overnight. We'll have to see. Um, Jack B says Millet, Zelensky, and Maloney, I think you mean Meloni with an E, are all wolves in sheep's clothing. That's a good point. Uh, I did notice that Zelensky was at the inauguration in Buenos Aires. Uh, and yeah, that's kind of worrying, isn't it? But The other thing I noticed, though, is that the former president of Brazil, Bolsonaro, he was there too, and so was the president of Hungary, Orban. And Orban and Bolsonaro, of course, they're hated by the globalists. And on the other hand, of course, Zelensky is a puppet of the globalists. So it's tough. Even the King of Spain was there. He was in the front row as well with Bolsonaro, um, Orban, and Zelensky. So I don't know what to make of that. Um, but I think what we have to focus on is what he talked about. Most of it was the economy and how he's going to try to fix it. And he said, Argentina has been on this downhill spiral, downhill uh, road to inflation and big government for almost 100 years. So it's not going to be solved in one day or 1 year or even maybe 5 years. I've heard him talk before because I've listened to the guy. And that's the thing that kind of annoys me because a lot of people make comments about him and they never listen to him. They just read what people say in the mainstream. But he said it could take up to 30 years to get Argentina back to where they used to be 100 years. And he could be right. Norbert, any idea if the current Guyana thing is related to the election of Milei? I don't think so. Not really. I don't think it's got any relationship to Milei. Alex says, Maro, he will have to open small banks to support new business. Um, I don't think he's going to open any banks. Millet. That's the whole point of Millet. He wants to get the government out of business and he wants to shrink the public sector. Yes, maybe the private sector will create more banks. And I think, a lot of people, the other mistake people make is that they think he wants to adopt the dollar. No, the only reason he talks about the dollar is because even though the dollar is, as we know, a crappy fiat currency, in Argentina, it's a good currency because the peso is so bad. So I think it's a step to sound money. And he said before, and I've listened to him, and if you don't believe me and you can understand Spanish or you get a translation, he will say that he wants a free market in money. He doesn't care if people use shells, silver, anything to exchange dollars, gold, silver, or even Bitcoin. And that's how I see it. So I don't think I think he's going to close. I don't know if there are any public banks in Argentina aside from the central bank, but I don't think that's something he wants to do. He wants to get the private sector in charge. He's going to try to uh, close a lot of public companies because he doesn't believe in that. And I think that's a good thing. Carlos Garcia, what do you think, Milei, uh, will he buy gold or Bitcoin? Michael Saylor recently uh, told Argentina's recently about Bitcoin. I don't think Milei is going to buy, Milei is not there to buy anything for for the state. Milei wants the state to get out of buying anything. Right now, he's still going to deal in, Argentina is still going to be dealing in pesos and dollars, but I think he wants to allow businesses to deal in anything they want. Michael Saylor, yeah, I don't know about Michael Saylor. I haven't heard what he said about that. But if you listen to Milei is gonna he's not gonna tell people what they need to buy, gold or Bitcoin. He's gonna tell people buy whatever you want. That's the kind of guy he is. So yeah. He's not like the El Salvador guy who's big into Bitcoin. Milei is big into the free market, and there is a free market in money, believe it or not. We've got a super chat from Hutcho Tom. Thank you, Tom. Says hi, Marion. Mario. It's okay. It doesn't matter. I have been watching your channel for 1 year and a half, and now as a result, started stacking and purchasing crypto. What would you suggest a 23-year-old telecommunications salesman should do? I hope it's not like when money dies. Many thanks. Um, 23, huh? One thing I would say, as a 23-year-old, I think you should just, um, yeah, focus on your job, focus on doing a good job, and don't worry, too much. You've got a lot of time, but if you want to buy crypto, that's fine. I've said in the past that, people, if they want to buy crypto, they do. The only thing I think you should do is uh, you don't need to buy that much crypto because I think it's very volatile, and if it goes up, it could go up massively. As for gold and silver, yeah, buy some whenever you can, and yeah, you're doing the right thing. Live within your means as well. Try to avoid debt as much as possible. So that's all I can say, Hacho Tom, and good luck. Silver Taz says 200 thumbs up. Hannah says would love to go to Argentina someday. I think it's a beautiful country. I mean, and I think it has a lot of potential. I mean, about 100 years ago, it was one of the richest countries in the world. Cupid Stunt, any chance of keeping your advertisers to the beginning or the end of your live streams? I missed some content for a few seconds. I'll try to look into it because I don't set the advertising. It's YouTube, but I'll look into it for the next one. Scott 49140. I watched your interview recently, and you mentioned we could have hyper stagflation. How could we see collapsing commodity prices if this currency is going down? I think hyper stagflation is more related to financial assets. So a collapse in like stocks, bonds, real estate, uh, and the currency. And even if commodities don't go up, um, people can't afford the commodities because the currency becomes worthless. I think that's what stagflation would look like. It's something that, just think of Venezuela, or other countries like Lebanon or even Argentina, where the economy is really in bad shape and people can't afford anything. I think that's what hyperstagflation means. Tyler Pelletier, thank you for your super chat. What do you think about non-redeemable Tether and how it's used to wash, trade, and pump Bitcoin? Uh, good question. I mean, I've looked into Tether and I've made videos about Tether about 3 years ago. And Tether is supposed to be 100% backed by the Federal Reserve note. So one Tether, should for every tether there should be $1, a $1 bill or a $1 deposit. But uh, we know that that's not the case. That there's only about 3 cents for every 100 cents, 3 cents for every dollar, for every tether. So it's a Ponzi scheme, and many people, yeah, like you said, feel that Tether is used to pump Bitcoin, and I think that's true. Tether is almost like the Federal Reserve uh, for Bitcoin. And what do I mean by that? Well, people create Tether out of thin air to buy Bitcoin. So a lot of times, and I haven't looked at this, but if you look at it, I would bet that the market capitalization of Tether has gone up quite a bit recently because Bitcoin has gone up. Echo, Echo, nice to see you here. Do you think Bitcoin really would fly if ETF got approved by regulators rather than buy the rumors, sell the news? Um, I think there's probably already quite a bit of buying the rumor right now, but the problem about the ETF is that I think BlackRock has had to change the prospectus and say that and put in the prospectus that Bitcoin could become classified as a security. And why is that bad? Well, because if they did that, a lot of the exchanges abroad and people, Americans that use these exchanges, they wouldn't be able to buy Bitcoin anymore because it would be very regulated. I think the same thing happened to XRP when they classified it as a security. Its market cap has dropped massively, but yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't like ETFs. If you want to buy a Bitcoin or a Satoshi or whatever, you should not do it through an ETF, but you should buy it, you know, mine it if you can, or buy it from a crypto exchange and put it in a private wallet because I don't trust BlackRock. So that's what I have to say about that. Oh, let's see if I've got more stuff here. Scott 49 140. What did the jobs data come out? Yeah, it came out higher than expected. I think it was expected around 180,000 non-farm payroll, and it came out at 199,000, which is, yeah, higher than expected. But my feeling of that is that these numbers are going to be revised massively lower in the coming months. The economy is not doing as well as these numbers indicate. Steve Dent, uh, New Zealand Treasury doesn't own any gold in their international reserves account. If or when a financial reset occurs, where would that leave New Zealand in terms of its currency? Well, I didn't realize. I think Canada as well doesn't have official reserves. Um, that wouldn't be a good thing because if there is like a kind of a Bretton Woods conference, the countries that have the gold, they sit at the table. The countries that don't have any gold, they sit against the wall behind the table, and they don't have much say. So yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. Interstitial says Milei's finance minister is a former JP Morgan official. Yeah, well, what can he do if the dollar blows up? Well, I think Argentinians have about $260 billion under the mattress, so to speak. So, as I said, the dollar is still a good currency compared to the peso, but I don't think Milei cares. I listened to one of his interviews just after the election, and someone asked him, "What do you say to people that have savings in pesos?" And that's not many people, but he said, well, that's their problem. And I think that's how Milei sees things. Milei doesn't want to interfere. I think what Milei wants to do is control government spending, cut the public sector, and stop the central bank from inflating. Anything else is he's going to leave to the market, and I think that's a breath of fresh air because politicians come to power promising loads of stuff, and Milei is not promising anything. The only thing he's promising is to slash the size of government, cut the inflation in the central bank. He's kind of like a Ron Paul, and I remember meeting Ron Paul over 20 years ago. I went to the Mises Institute 20th anniversary in Auburn, Alabama, and he was there. He made a speech, and I spoke to him, and he was a really nice guy. I've had him on the channel, but one thing he said in his speech is that in his constituency in southern Texas, people asked him, how do you get elected, so many times? And he said, well, I tell my constituents, you know, um, have things improved when people promise you things? And they said no. And he said to them, well, I'm promising you nothing. I'm just promising you not to interfere or make life more difficult for you. And that's why he got elected. And I have a feeling that's the way Milei wants to run things. Whether he will succeed, we will have to see. I mean, tomorrow is the first day for him in terms of changing things. He was inaugurated. Today is Sunday, of course. I think he's gonna get moving tomorrow. Tyler Pelletier, thank you for your super chat. I think he might link imports to CBDC. So if you want to buy from our country, you have to use CBDC. Like I said, I don't think he's going to do anything like that. He's going to leave it to the other thing. People have asked him, what about BRICS? What about trade agreements? He said, I don't care about those things. He said, I'm going to allow Argentinians to do business with whoever they want. They can use whatever they want to pay. So I'm not too sure he's into all that stuff. Uh, Frangipani says you're too trusting. Um, Not really, and I could be wrong. I agree. He could just be saying these things, and he might not do that. That's true, but I have to give him the benefit of the doubt for now. And as I said earlier, I've never heard a politician, and I don't really think he's a politician, but he's more like an economist, say the things he said. So yeah, he could be wrong, but the other thing, well, not wrong, but he might not do what he promised. But I think just his mentality and his attitude is probably going to rub off on a lot of Argentinians, that they're going to learn that it's up to you, up to the individual. And I think that's the important point here. Even if he doesn't succeed, hopefully, a lot of people are going to realize that we don't need government to help us. We need to help ourselves. So even if it doesn't work, even if I'm too trusting, um, I think it's a good move in that he won. Smitty 25 CA. Why is it that almost every central bank is aligning their gold reserves with their GDP except for Canada and Israel? Are these countries going to exist after the reset? Well, I don't think it's just Canada and Israel, it's most of the Western countries. So I think a lot of these countries, and I think Israel is basically the 51st state. So it doesn't really care. Maybe Canada, Canada has a lot of gold, not reserves, but gold deposits, a lot of natural resources. Maybe they think they can get away with it. Brady Girding, thoughts on Jamie Dimon saying crypto should be outlawed? Well, he said a few years ago that Bitcoin was a fraud. Um, I mean, listen to my interview with David Morgan and John Perez. We spoke a lot about that. John Perez thinks that it's bad for Bitcoin in the US or crypto. If Jamie Dimon said that, am I defending Jamie Dimon? No, but if he's the biggest, he runs the biggest bank in the world, and if he says that, a lot of other banks are gonna follow suit. They're gonna think alike. So yeah, Jake's custom parts. Why doesn't everyone just wait and give him a few years to see how it goes? I agree, Jake. That's like he said in his inaugural speech, um, it's been 100 years downhill for Argentina. It's not gonna Things are not gonna be solved in a day, a month, or even a year. Andrew Brown, how likely do you think it is that other countries will switch to an Austrian school approach if Milei is successful? That's a really interesting question, and that's why I think it's a good thing. Um, I mean that could be a lot of change. Yeah, a lot of countries could see that, and it will be like a domino effect. So it's not going to be very hard for Argentina to improve because it's really a basket case right now. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think that's the other encouraging thing, Andrew or Andy. Dylan Roberts, yeah, Jamie Dimon should be outlawed. I agree. Over here says maybe I'm doom and gloom, but I'm wishing people an unhappy new year. Sometimes really reality sucks. Well, I guess you keeping expectations low, so they might have actually a happy new year. Lyle Budd in Yuba, California, they quoted spot for silver bullion and plus 50 cents for uh, American silver eagles. One dealer said they bought 15,000 ounces, so I'm stacking if people are selling. 1938 gold, a buy, question mark. I would say it doesn't really matter what year the gold coin or bar is from. You know, gold is gold. It's a commodity, so it should be pretty much near the price that people are going to pay for other gold. Robert, Millet will pivot and join the BRICS? Question mark. I've listened to what he said about BRICS and other, groups of countries, and he actually doesn't seem to be too concerned about joining groups of countries. And well, this is what he says. I'm not sure if it's what he will uh, do, but he says that he will allow, not allow, but he doesn't care what Argentinian business, who they do business with, that he wants to let them do business with whoever they want, be it the US, Europe, China, Russia. So he's not concerned about being part of BRICS, but he did say that he wants to align himself more to the West in terms of the philosophy. And I'm not too sure about, if he's right about that, but that's the way it is. What does Millet say about gold? Well, I'm sure he thinks gold and silver are money because he's read Rothbard. I haven't really heard him talk specifically, but actually I have. Yeah, he says gold and silver are money. But I think first he needs to get Argentina going again in the current system. And yeah, the other thing he says about money in general is that he wants to allow people to use whatever they want as money. And I think over the millennia, people have migrated to gold and silver. Is South America excluded from Belt and Road like a US? Well, I mean, not really. Um, I guess it's tough for South America to get on the Belt and Road unless the US gets on it, because if you think about it, Alaska is close to Russia. There, the Aleutian Islands, you could have a bridge from Alaska to Siberia or the easternmost part of Russia, and then you could connect, South America, North America. But I think the people in charge of the Belt and Road, they're open to anyone joining the Belt and Road Initiative. Chasma Bobby 96. Do you think that copper nickel coins will have a role in the future in terms of trade between people, or just gold, silver? Because most of the public don't have gold and silver. Well, the copper nickel could be worth something if the current, the fiat currencies collapse totally. The copper and nickel will have some value. Yeah, and people might still use it. So it might be worth keeping some. Scott 49140, I got my first ounce Krugerrand using your promo code. Got it as close to spot as I could right before I made an all-time high. Says, thank you, Mario. Oh yeah, that promo code is still there at Gold Investments, and it's Maneko 64. I'm typing it here. Krug. So yeah, you get 1% off the price um, that's quoted on Gold Investments website. Tyler Pelletier, thank you for your super chat again. Many predict gold 3,000 to 50,000. So under 3,000, any price is a bargain. Canada, I think, may nationalize mines. Anything's possible. Requa, do I have any ancient coins? Yeah, I actually do. A couple of years ago, I went to a coin expo in London. I'll show it to you. Where is it? Here we go. It's a tetra drachma, which is with Alexander the Great. So it's like 2,200 years old. There you go. It's about, I think it's 17 grams of gold, silver, sorry. There's a tetradrachma. That's the oldest coin I have, silver, Alexander of Macedonia or Alexander the Great. Cupid stunt. What did Milei say when he said Argentina is running out of plata? Did he mean silver or currency? Well, basically money or currency. Yeah, they have no money left. And plata, of course, is silver in Spanish. And I think I tweeted earlier today or posted on X saying that, plata is silver, and plata is money. And unfortunately, it's one of the reasons why Argentina has inflation, because they've changed the plata or money into a promissory note, and they be able to inflate it out of thin air, and it's become worthless. And it's driven all the silver out of circulation, which is Gresham's law. So yeah, that's a good question, and I think he knows about Gresham's law, I'm sure. And I think when you drive bad money out of the system, I'm sure the good money will come back into circulation. So I wouldn't count out that in 10 years' time, Argentina could be using silver or plata again. Doing Roberts, uh, have you thought of selling that, Mario? Have good set of golf clubs. No, I mean, I bought it 2 years ago. I don't need to sell it. I didn't buy it to sell it and make a profit. I bought it because I like the coin. Swiss gold Renminbi is a good coin. Yeah. It's it's the same weight as the 20 franc, gold franc. It's a little less. I think it's 0.1867 of an ounce. The sovereign is 0.2354. Yeah, Vrenelies are the national. I think they could be legal tender in Switzerland. 20 franc Vreneli. Indy, thank you for your super chat. Just got here and not sure if you covered this. What do you think about Milei? Milei, uh, I don't know what SP meeting with the Pope. I didn't know he met the Pope. I think he said he spoke to the Pope after he won the election and they had a nice chat, but that was about it. But what he said about the Pope is that the Pope is the head of the Catholic Church, and the majority of Argentinians are Catholic, and that's why, out of respect for Argentinians, he spoke to the Pope. But I don't think he's a practicing Catholic, so that's how I see it. Matt Bittner, have you ever looked at YPF, Argentinian Oil Company? No, I haven't, but I think that's he's gonna privatize all these state-owned companies. But I haven't looked at it. Over here says, I believe in the American Silver Eagle is more valuable than the $50 bill. I wouldn't argue with you on that over here. I just got like recently quite a few of those. Someone sent them to me as a present from the US. Beautiful coins. Stephen Young, thank you for your super chat. Nick Jones says, I give up. Sorry, Nick, I didn't see your question. What's the question? If you can ask again. There's a lot of you on the chat, so a lot of times I don't see it. But ask the question again, and I'm looking here, and I'll answer it if I can. Jack B says Satan was the first sovereign individual. Yeah. Nick Jones, I'm waiting for your question. David Bradley says he sees them keeping precious metals down until January. They won't want precious metals in the top performing asset classes for 2023. Mary, did you ever meet Christopher Story, Valhalla? I have actually. I did meet him at I think it was around 2007 or 8, and I was reading his stuff, and I contacted him and asked him if I could meet him. And I went to meet him central London in his office. Interesting guy. And when I got there, he opened the door for me, and I was waiting for him to go in, and he actually told me to go in first. I guess he was a bit paranoid. And no, it was an interesting guy, Christopher Story. Have some of his books. Guess who he went to university with? I think at Cambridge. Uh, Lord Rothschild, Jacob Rothschild. Nick Jones hasn't asked this question. I'm looking for it. Oh, the other thing I did when I met Christopher Story to thank him, I gave him a sovereign as payment. It was a long time ago, though. H Man says, in a previous stream, you briefly mentioned selling your Bitcoin after someone said the government was involved in the setup of something. Could you please expand? Well, not really. It's just I did have Bitcoin and traded it like 10, 11 years ago. And I was involved in some other cryptos, and um, I still get like Steam and Hive coins because I post my videos there. But what put me off Bitcoin and crypto in general is that it became too speculative, too greed oriented. When I looked at Bitcoin at first, it was supposed to be uh, an alternative to our financial system. And then I saw in 2017 um, the CBOT and the CBOE creating futures for Bitcoin. And then I saw Goldman Sachs, buying parts of exchanges. And I saw a lot of Wall Street people get involved. And I thought, well, this is not good because you know, and that's why I think BlackRock getting involved is a bad sign. And the reason why I liked Bitcoin at first was because I thought it was going to be like gold, physical gold and silver. You couldn't, the bankers couldn't, be involved. And that's why. Dutch libertarian, if you use something between 1,000 to 2,000 a month, how much silver gold do you need in the time of collapse? If you mean 1,000 to 2,000 euros a month, is that what you need to survive on? I mean, it's a difficult question. I mean, when there's a collapse, you should, I think most people try to not get rid of their silver and gold. It's more after the collapse that, you need to use your silver and gold. But yeah, I mean, just maybe look at where gold and silver are now, and especially silver, and multiply it, by 10 or 10 or 20, and that might give you an idea of how much you need right now because it could be very valuable, when there is a collapse of fiat currency. There's a story, about the Weimar hyperinflation in Germany in 1923. A young German was given a $20 gold piece, which is just under an ounce of gold, by some American tourists. And he was able to buy a small hotel in Berlin. So I think just having some gold and silver will help you. In Durarama, could Milei introduce coinage containing precious metals to mix things up? Why hasn't this been attempted? Well, as I said earlier, I think he wants to first bring down inflation, And then I think he's gonna let the market decide what they want to use, and people might want to use gold and silver, but who knows? The I don't know if they have a mint in Argentina. Argentina is a rich country, and they could start minting silver coins. But I don't. I think we need to look more. Excuse me. We need to look more at what he's going to try to do in terms of cutting the size of government, cutting the money printing by the central bank to stabilize things. Dogster McWoof. You could argue the same thing about gold and silver ETFs. BlackRock is involved, so precious metals are bad. That was a pure argument, Mario. Well, uh, gold and silver ETFs are not gold and silver. That's why I've never had ETFs. So what I was trying to say is that if you want to buy Bitcoin, don't buy an ETF. Buy the real thing. So there you go. But the other thing as well, with the ETF, they'll be able to manipulate, the crypto market more. And what it will do, it will stop people from buying the real Bitcoin because they think they're gonna have Bitcoin by having the ETF. The gold and silver ETF, unless you have millions of dollars worth of it, you can't really take delivery. So it's just a scam, really, in my opinion. Charles Schulten, do you recommend insuring the precious metals that you keep in your home? Um, yeah, if you can do that, yeah, you should. Um, why not? Brozilla, never trust a politician's palate when they make bold promises. I agree with you, Brozilla. And the only reason, and I didn't say I trust Milei, I'm just saying that the stuff he's saying is quite revolutionary because he's actually um, saying things that politicians and statists never say. And what do I mean by that? Well, politicians and statists, they like fiat currency. They hate sound money because it limits their actions. But Milei, he's saying that he wants to do the opposite. So I never heard any politician, with the exception of Ron Paul, say that. So I'm going to wait and see. He's got 4 years. That's his term. If at the end of 4 years he hasn't done anything he says, then yeah, you know, um, but give him a chance. That's all I can say. And I understand. I don't trust any politician either, but sometimes there could be an exception. Who knows? Full of hope. Hi, full of hope. I know UK only owns 400 tons, but they store a lot. Would they ever hand it over in an event? Yeah, possession is 90% of the law. I think the Bank of England holds 5,000 tons approximately for other countries. And the UK, actually, full of hope, only owns 306 tons, so not 400. But you're right. We're an island as well, so it's going to be very hard for people, if there's a major war, major crisis. Yeah, we do have that gold. Not we, but the Bank of England. So I thought I was going to keep it short, but I think we're going to go till 10 o'clock London. We got 7 minutes. Rudy is too bored. Yeah. Rudy. There he is. Neo Han's dynasty. What would happen to price of gold if a few trillions of it was discovered as artifacts? Yeah, it would probably go down. But yeah, that's you could discover a few trillion. Where is it though? People talk about, oh, we could mine gold in outer space, or, a few years ago, there's talk that they found 12 trillion worth of gold deposits in Uganda, but Uganda hasn't been invaded yet, so that's possible. Scott 4940 says it's a good thing we haven't seen Millie been treated the same way Ron Paul was by the media. I think he was kind of disparaged a bit in the run up to the elections, but ever since he's won, they've had to, like, you know, they've had to admit, well, the guy's won. So I don't hear them saying anymore, oh, he's a right-wing extremist, like the FT. What are they saying? They say radical economist now. I'll show you what they've written about him. They've changed their tune. It says Javier Milei takes office pledging deep spending cuts. Radical economist says pulling South American nation out of decline will be Titanic challenge. Well, I agree with that. So now they're saying he's a maverick libertarian economist. Prior to him getting elected, they used to say he was a right-wing populist. And yeah, so they're being a bit nicer to him. We'll see what happens. Rick Vegas, do you think the Fed and Bank of England what do you think they will do come March, April when reverse repos runs out along with BTFP? I think I think the Fed will extend BTFP. I don't see any other way out. The BTFP is actually going up quite a bit. Last I checked, I'll show you guys here. BTFP is this uh, program they instituted this March to save the banks, really. When banks started failing. And here's the BTFP. Uh, Let me just share it with you guys. So yeah, look at how the BTFP is picking up now. So what the BTFP is, let's say you are a bank and you have £100 worth of gilts, and those gilts are only worth now 40 pounds. So, you have your depositors wanting their money, but you don't have the £100 because your gilts went down. So what the Bank of England would do is say, oh, don't worry, we'll buy those gilts from you for £100, even though they're worth £40. That's what BTFP is. And it's continued to go up, which tells me that the banks are still in trouble. So I think they will just extend it. Jack B. India's Tempo gold is counted in the world stock of gold. However, it is not traded. There you go. It's not for sale. Hannah, do you think Powell will step down before the Fed starts cutting rates? It would ruin his legacy. I don't know. I mean, only if he's forced, I think. And I think Biden made a comment a few days ago about monetary policy being tight. So who knows? Maybe Yeah, that could happen. Who knows? I'm not sure it would ruin his legacy, though. I don't think he has one. That's why. All right, I'll take a couple of more questions and we'll call it a day. We're almost at the top of the hour. St. Louis 9 oppose paganism, heresy, and debauchery. I think Milei might remain in BRICS in order to continue trading with their nations. Well, don't forget, Argentina is not part of BRICS yet. It's supposed to join it next year, but I know what you mean. You're welcome, full of hope. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming on the live stream. And oh yeah, I wanted to say that I'm going to be doing a lot of interviews in the next week or so, and they're all going to be published around Christmas time. So it should be something interesting, different content, some very interesting guests, and I hope you will enjoy it. Um, Scott 49140, is the BTF fee the same as the Fed's discount window? No, it's just a new program that they had to institute in March. No, it's different. It's not the Fed window, discount window. All right. So I wish everyone a great rest of the weekend and a great week. Take care. Okay.